Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Retail Refresh, the show where we talk about everything to do with retail media and technology. I'm Rob, and I'll be one of your hosts for today.
And I'm Jazz. I'm also here to host.
Jazz, I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh. Okay, yeah.
My confession is that I have never purchased retail media ads before.
Is that a confession?
I just feel like I should practice what I preach, and what I preach is that retail media is the bee's knees.
Right, but Rob, you don't work for a place where it would make sense to run retail media ads.
Yeah, but I could run them for myself. I mean, picture it. The ads could say, hey, Rob's great. He's really nice and fun once you get to know him. Please be his friend. Like, picture that on an e-commerce site or inside of your local grocery store,
It would be weird, Rob, and sad. I think it would throw off the vibe.
Okay. Well, maybe I just need inspiration to get it right.
I mean, not the intention, but we do have an expert on the show today to share her perspective on retail media, so you're in luck. Talia Arnold is a managing director at Exverus Media and is an expert media strategy and planning for digital campaigns, including retail media. She's also a writer and speaker at many industry conferences, including Media Post, DigiDay, and iMedia. Welcome to the show, Talia.
Hi, thank you.
To start off, can you tell us a little bit about Exverus Media and how long the agency has been active in the retail media space?
Love it. Love it. So your first question before we went live was, how do you pronounce it? And you did it correctly, which is amazing. Exverus. And Exverus is a Latin word that means from the truth. And so the whole reason why we started this agency about 10 years ago now was about giving brand advertisers the truth about what's actually happening with their advertising dollars and is it returning sales for them, and being very transparent about those results. And so that's what we do. It's everything you said. We're a media strategy planning and buying agency based in Los Angeles. It's small independent boutique, if you want to call it that. And we typically help clients who are brand advertisers, usually consumer packaged goods like food, beverage, household products, pet food. We help those types of clients who are really looking to get to the next level of success and reach, to go from, say, 50 million in annual sales to 200 million to 400 million. And retail media has been a key component of how we've helped our clients do that. And we've been in the retail media space since, I want to say, 2017, which is pretty early days. The first client we worked with was in retail media was a robotic vacuum cleaner who had a significant portion of their sales, as you can imagine, done through Amazon. And so that was the first project where we really leaned heavily in a big way in retail media, specifically in Amazon, but also some, Best Buy and other electronic retail outlets. So that was how we got our start in retail media.
This is very silly. I have an inordinate amount of love for robot vacuums, so that just tickles me instantly. I don't know why I do. I just love them.
Why am I not at all surprised by that?
They're so cool. It's great that Exverus has so much experience in retail media, because one of the things we wanted to ask you about is, in your experience, what's the reason media buyers should be excited about the opportunities that retail media presents?
Well, I think the biggest reason is, in our field, as a media buyer, you're in this interesting dynamic where it's a combination of advertising is, creativity, psychology, but it's also data and science and math and analytics. And when you want to combine those things, and something that media professionals are constantly hungry for is that proof, the proof that what I'm doing matters, the proof that what I'm doing is helping my client. It makes us feel good, and it helps the businesses grow. And so I think that's one reason why people get very excited about, it's the measurability, of course. I think the other thing about it is, as consumers, we're so used to advertising being, an interruptive experience, right? It's interrupting your content. It's something that's happening in front of what you really want to be doing. But retail media is endemic to what you're already doing. You're shopping. You're shopping. And most retail media ad products are very native to the experience. It's like a search ad, or it's a sponsored listing, or it's a promoted product that's related to what you're looking for. So we like the idea that it's native, it's part of your shopping experience, and that it's instantly trackable.
For sure, for sure. One of the things I've been thinking about as I learn more about this industry is, how do you start to differentiate some of the retail media buys from some of the more traditional digital buys? Is there anything substantially different that you recommend in terms of a campaign strategy or the goals that you set with a customer?
Yes. I mean, I think what's really interesting in the history of how retail media has evolved, right, is in the past, it was really all about what was called trade advertising or shopper marketing. And it was something that was in the realm of the sales teams who would work with, let's say I'm a laundry detergent brand and I'm sold at Walmart. Well, I would work with my Walmart buyer, and they would be the ones who would be looking at, hey, are you going to do in-store displays? Are you going to have coupons? And that was a whole different realm. And now this whole idea of advertising in a retail physical location, but now in a digital location primarily, has shifted it into the realm of media buyers and advertising professionals, which is where I come into play. And so I think the shift and how it's differentiated is, as media buyers, we have to think a little bit not only just about the advertising and the consumer element, but also about the retailer element, because a lot of times these buys are done with an intention of driving increased sell-through from the retail buyer, meaning the Walmart buyer, the Target buyer, right? Convincing them, hey, we're going to put a lot of investment behind this to drive sales at your specific retail channel. And that's important because that helps brand advertisers increase distribution and have stronger relationships with their retailers. So you kind of have to shift your thinking a little bit to be aware of that, be very cognizant of that relationship. And then the second thing is having it be not a siloed situation where, like it used to be in the past, you would have your ad campaign over here and you would have your shopper marketing somewhere else. Now you're really starting to see these worlds merge. And the reason that it's so important to merge them together is because you're suddenly able to understand the impact that different advertising has on your in-store and online sales. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if someone watches a TV ad, that's going to have an impact on your .com sales or your Walmart.com sales or your Target or your Kroger or whatever it is. And so now, by bringing these worlds together and ideally having one holistic viewpoint, you can sort of tie these things together and say, hey, I want to make sure that my TV campaign lines up with my on-shelf activation, which lines up with my in-screen media, and I want to have tracking, and I want to have geolocation, device retargeting to make sure that the same person sees the same message across all their screens. So really having that holistic view is something that is super important.
I think it's all really helpful context for people kind of from the outside looking in on retail media and interested in getting started. I'm wondering, from your perspective, what are the likeliest stumbling blocks if someone's like, let's do a retail media, and they kind of try to go into it without adequate preparation?
Well, there's a couple of things that you got to sort out first. I mean, I would say, the most important thing is having an understanding of your brand and product distribution footprint, right? So you don't want to waste your dollars advertising on a channel where your product is not widely accessible. So I'll give you an example. We have a pet food client that is historically was only distributed at very specific neighborhood pet stores. So it's not going to make sense for us to go deep on, a mass big box retailer chain, retail media, because their products aren't widely sold there. Or maybe they only have 1 or 2 SKUs. You want to go where you're going to have the highest chance of success. And the other thing to think about is regionality, right? So are you only in certain states? What's your shipping? There's all these considerations that you have to have. What's the shipping situation? If it's a product where the cost of shipping is extremely prohibitive, maybe it doesn't make sense to advertise an e-commerce play. We'll give you another example. We had a client that was a bottled water client. Shipping bottled water is very expensive. They're not going to, it's really hard to make a strong return on something like that versus, let's say, a powdered hydration tablet, right? So you got to make these kinds of decisions and really get an understanding from your client of which channels make the most sense for you, which retail chains, brick and mortar versus online, regionality. Get all that stuff sorted out first before you start going down the path. That's what I would say is like the most important thing as far as a stumbling block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of those fundamental pieces that don't necessarily come to mind, but again, it makes total sense in terms of ensuring that you're getting that impact that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
When we think about data, which is one of my favorite things, and retail media specifically, what kind of first-party data do you find that some of these media buyers are looking for when they're transacting on the retail media campaigns?
Yeah, so that's what brands are most hungry for, especially in the digital shopping environment, right? So when so much of product sales happen not on the brand's own .com, right? Think of any product. No one goes to Coca-Cola.com to buy Coca-Cola, right? I mean, most of the sales are happening on the retailers' properties, and they own a lot of that data. So what is the data that you're looking for that you really want to explore? I like to think of it as concentric circles that expand out. So from a really tight radius of who are my current buyers, right? And that's something that the retailers can uniquely tell you, not only who they are, but how often do they buy? What do they buy? Are they, and you can think of it as segmenting between light, medium, heavy buyers. And that can help you be really selective on who you want to reach. What else do they buy? What else are they in the market for? Who else do they consider? When they stop buying you, who do they buy? And that is a lot of really interesting data. Or when they come to you, who did they come from? That type of stuff is really insightful, not only for media targeting, but also just for, consumer insights, creative strategy, product strategy, and other research. So then, next level out, you want to look at their category shopper, their category buyer and their category shopper. What brands are they considering? How much do they spend on average? How often do they spend? So you get a broader view of who the consumer is in the total market. And then sort of the last third ring out from the center is what I like to call, trigger or prospective audiences. These are people who maybe they're not currently buying your product or even your category, but they have some indications that they might be soon. So there's a lot of examples of this. I think the simplest one being something like, understanding a browsing behavior of someone who recently, started looking for baby products, right? So, or prenatal vitamins, right? So that's a trigger. Okay, this person is going to have a child soon. So suddenly they're in my prospective customer list. And now I can expand my pool to reach not only current moms, but prospective moms or moms who may be, expecting to be expecting. So you're building that audience pool for, say 18 months down the line. So that type of shopper data is super valuable.
Would you say, by and large, the retailers that you've worked with for these kinds of campaigns, are they delivering on the data you want, or are there still gaps in some places?
Well, let's see. The way I would answer that is they have the data. Sometimes it's challenging to get it, only because some are more tight-fisted than others, where others are more generous for various reasons, whether it's privacy, whether it's competitive information. But I would say by and large, the data exists. It's there. Sometimes it just requires a little extra work to get it. Sometimes you have to ask. Sometimes it's going to take several days to a week to have a custom audience pool built for you, something like that.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like in a way kind of ties a little bit to the next question I wanted to ask. What we're noticing is there's a lot of fragmentation in retail media right now.
Mhm.
Feels like a lot of the big retailers, especially, they're trying to wall themselves off, restrict activity to certain DSPs. Often it's a homegrown solution or one they acquired. What impact is this having for media buyers? And do you anticipate this is something that's going to persist over the coming years, or is it just kind of like a phase?
I think what we're seeing is, everyone wants to cash in on the retail media, popularity. And so all these different solutions being created is sort of a natural outcome of that, of wanting to grab that share and transform their businesses to capture that market share of advertising dollars. I don't think that is going to be all that sustainable. And in fact, what I'm seeing more is I'm seeing kind of the pendulum start swinging the other way, where I'm seeing more collaboration, and I'm seeing more of these types of companies realizing that they need to make things easier for the advertiser, not harder. So one big example that just came out a couple weeks ago, Instacart, suddenly decided that they were going to share data with Google and Meta and the Trade Desk and enable you to place buys on those platforms, leveraging Instacart data and for audience targeting and for back-end sales attribution. So for me, that's an example of Instacart sort of realizing, yes, we can sell our own products on our own platform, but if we really want to, expand how we're using our data, we should probably start integrating with these other platforms that operate, a much wider net of the total available audience.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like we're at a place now where we're really starting to showcase the value of some of the data sets that have been collected either intentionally or unintentionally over a long period of time. And it's opening up a lot of opportunities, which is really cool. I think one of the things that I'm most excited about with retail media is the opportunity to go digital inside of brick and mortar environments. Obviously, more retailers are starting to offer a mix of in-store and online. How do you think media buyers can best take advantage of that?
Yeah, I think first of all, the bringing together the world of the physical and the digital is ideal for any marketer. How to take best advantage of it? I mean, some of the things that we've seen be successful is just being very specific about, when you know that you're reaching someone who's in the store, have the message and the goal of the campaign about very specific. How do I get them to take that next step to buy it? Right? It's not about like thinking about something in the future. Oh, maybe I need to buy chicken in the future. It's like, no, tonight you need to buy fajitas because this is what's for dinner. It's in aisle 12. That and a jar of salsa. Dinner's on the table. It's about making it immediately actionable. I think that's the best way to take advantage of it. Having an offer that's available right away, something that feels exclusive, something that feels time sensitive, creates that sense of urgency when someone's in the store and just makes it easy. That's I guess like the other thing that we've seen be successful is, again, like bundling, so you bought this, you should also buy this, try all our flavors. You love chocolate, try vanilla. You love vanilla, try banana. To build that basket size is also another really effective strategy, especially when you're launching new products or new flavors.
In a similar vein to the in-store piece, we also know that retailers and brands are keen to move shoppers into brick and mortar environments. Are there any interesting campaigns you've seen activated through RMN ad buys that help drive in-store traffic?
One example that I would like to talk about is something that our agency just did, which solves that exact question. So I mentioned earlier about our pet food client, Stella and Chewy's. So the majority of their sales, like I mentioned, have historically taken place in neighborhood independent pet stores. So sort of the neighborhood boutique pet store. And this past year, we wanted to launch a campaign that was entirely designed around getting people to go to their neighborhood pet store and find Stella and Chewy's products. Why? Because, of course, as consumer behavior is changing, people are more likely to, shop either online or from the big box retailers. We want to make sure that we're still supporting our local neighborhood retailers who are really the ones that got the brand, up and running and brought it to its success. So we actually launched a campaign that was called America's Next Top Petfluencer. And the campaign was entirely designed around getting customers to go to their neighborhood pet store, to where they could exclusively get an entry to take a picture of their dog or cat, to enter for a chance to win the opportunity to have their dog be the face of our next advertising campaign on a billboard, in their local city and be part of their online advertising campaigns. So, as you can imagine, people loved the idea. And the retail media component was really around, obviously we had to activate in the neighborhood pet stores. So there was some digital media displays, there was some, paper out of home, driving people to the event, but also there was a lot of hyper targeted local digital media that surrounded the exact list of stores where we saw our highest opportunity. So we had this list of every single retail location we wanted to target. We had digital media geo-focused around those people who were in those neighborhoods. We had digital out of home targeting people who were in the neighborhoods where those stores existed. So it was very tight to directing people to a specific retail media location. And then, of course, when the winner's announced, it's going to be, displayed close to the retail store as well. And it will be, advertised that, this is the store that they came from, et cetera. So that was one, I think, pretty creative solution to getting people in store, right? Like creating that experience, creating a reason. And from all the feedback that we've heard from the retailers, huge success, we surpassed our goal for entries and benchmarks and all of that.
That is so cool. I'm seriously, I've been telling my dog that he needs to get a job, and I feel like I missed an opportunity.
Yeah, could have gotten free food for a year at least.
Oh,
Can I ask, are you getting to see all of the petfluencers yourself? Because that seems like the best perk possible for this kind of campaign.
Right? Now, I'm not part of the selection committee, so no, but I have seen the winner, and he's very cute. As they all are, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea. We ask all of our guests some variation of this question, but I feel like it's even more fun since you come from the agency world. Mm-hmm. Can you give us an idea for a creative, impactful retail media campaign that incorporates in-store digital, either as a standalone or as part of a broader omni-channel campaign?
Yeah, so I love that you guys asked this. And like there's one idea that is just my dream in my career. And it's not that deep, it's not that complex, but I think something that I don't understand why brands don't do more of is more um collabs. So yeah, you see a lot of collabs with like, oh, the designers and, unexpected sort of combinations. But to me, it's about like, I would love to see more partnerships between brands, like, why doesn't peanut butter work with jelly and, do a combined in-store display? You never see it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for the types of brands that we work with, like they tend to be those sort of growing brands. They don't have the massive budget. So like, why don't they combine forces with another similar brand to make the most of, like, let's say, an in-store promotion or um, sharing the ad space. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I think I would love to again, it's like been a dream of mine. I'm trying to think of like another example of, like we have a beer client. It's like, why don't we put them together with our chicken wings client,
Mm-hmm.
John Souls Foods, which sells hot ones, and our clients at New Belgium Brewing. Like, that's like my dream. It's not that creative, other than to say, I just think like they could just benefit from each other so much. Um, because it's about building that basket and like variety, and more is more, and this goes with this, and you can't have this without that. So anyway, that's my pitch. I hope some of my clients hear this and listen.
That's yeah. Our go-to is always you want to sell avocados, put up a recipe for a guacamole. But to your point, get Old El Paso in on it. Have them sell their salsa alongside it, right? Like, it makes perfect sense, and you're going to move the avocados and the salsa at the same time for sure.
Yeah, and they could literally just share their budgets that could just go so much farther. And that's something that, if there's any listeners out there that are in, ad sales or retail media sales, a really smart salesperson would find a way to like bring two of their clients together and say, hey, I have this opportunity. I'd love to bring you two together. Because I just think it would be really successful.
I agree. Is there anything else you think our audience should know about retail media before we hang up?
My one-liner was going to be, it's not just Amazon. Amazon, but we love Amazon. We love Amazon. But think about the broader scope of retail and media, and think about how it all works together.
I like it.
Awesome.
Talia, thank you so much for joining us. This was a delightful conversation.
Thank you, guys. It really was.
That's all we have for you this week, but make sure you come back in a couple weeks from now to see what else we have in store for you. Right?
That's right.